I think it's recording now. Great. All right, I'm gonna let people in. Awesome. People are coming in, connecting to audio. Welcome, welcome. Happy to have you here with us. While we wait for people to join, we'll give just a couple more minutes. People feel free to unmute and share where you're tuning in from, or you can share in the chat where you're tuning in from. I'm tuning in from Los Angeles, California. Awesome. Some more people coming in. It's 5 p.m. here, but it's still so light out from daylight savings that it honestly feels way earlier in the day. But thank you for tuning in, especially if it's middle of the day for you, middle of the night for you, 5 p.m., you're ending your workday. So thankful for digital spaces like these, where oftentimes there's people just from all around the world tuning in. It's just nice to be able to feel like we're all in a shared space together. I'll just give another minute before I introduce Josh and hand it over to him. So we just have a few more people coming in. Awesome. And I'm making sure we've got the recording going. Very excited for this guided meditation for educators. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our practitioner this evening, Josh Wei, who has over 20 years of experience working in public schools. Josh Wei has served as a teacher, administrator, researcher, and speaker. Currently a high school principal in the San Diego region, he works to integrate research-based practices with a holistic approach to student and adult learning. Josh has been a yoga and meditation practitioner and instructor for 25 plus years and believes in bringing in a high-frequency devotional approach to leadership and professional learning. As a husband and father, he believes we all have the right to fulfill our highest potential at home and at work. All right, I'll hand it over to you, Josh.
All right. Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. Good evening, everybody. I say good evening because it's evening where I'm at on the West Coast of California, Southern California, San Diego. I'd love to know where you all are coming in from. If you wouldn't mind just putting it in the chat. And I'm also curious, how many educators do we have out there? As an educator myself, I thrive off of that feedback and knowing a little bit about the friends that I'm with. So if you wouldn't mind just chiming in and putting in the chat where you're coming from, Los Angeles, that would be great. And if this is morning time for you or evening, Manila coming in from the Philippines. Nice. Another one from the Philippines, Jennifer Mauritius. Did I say it right, Ashna? Nice. 4 a.m. and we got Pittsburgh. All right. Audra, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for sharing. Well, like you said, in the intro, I am an educator. And I've been a teacher. I've been an assistant principal. I've been a principal, been a coach, and done a bunch of different roles in public schools. And throughout all of that, I was very fortunate at a very young age. My mother was a yoga instructor. So growing up, she would sneak me and my friends into her yoga studio. And I say sneak, not because we weren't allowed, but in the 80s and 90s, athletes and football players weren't known to be practicing the contemplative arts, particularly yoga. And so we would sneak in and she'd lead us through yoga practice. And so early on, I found the benefits of these ancient practices. And early, right when I think I graduated high school, she said, "Hey, why don't you come and get a yoga certification? You could start teaching." And so I started teaching right after high school. And as I was teaching yoga and going through college and getting my own job as a teacher in the classroom at high school, I taught high school. I would do yoga on the side, and I would work at different studios. I would teach by day, do yoga at night, and never really put the two together until I was a coach. And then I started reflecting on my own experience as an athlete, thinking, why aren't these two integrated? And so I started bringing my yoga practice to the athletes. I coached baseball. And so, and it was interesting because the students, the young people at the time, just the way they connected with it, um, it was like they didn't know what it was, but they knew that they liked it and it did something for them. And it wasn't until I actually started integrating this with adults until I became an administrator. I've been an administrator for 12 years. In fact, officially now longer than I was actually a classroom teacher, which is a weird threshold to pass through. But in that time, I transitioned over to really becoming more interested in the meditation, mindfulness, um, and started going a little bit deeper in that world and practice all different types of practices of meditation and became a certified meditation instructor through the shamatha tradition and and again, right as I was becoming an administrator, I was looking at my colleagues, um, our admin teams, and I always felt like I had this secret trick in my bag of contemplative practices and being able to process all of the challenges that I was going through in my personal life and work life. And I saw my colleagues really struggle with the challenges of this work. Whether you're a teacher or an administrator, the work of education is very personal, and it's really hard to 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 process the work that we do, and then to react in a skillful way. And I think that's what meditation brought to me. And so I want to say probably about 7, 8 years ago, I started integrating that with my colleagues. And I started sharing about meditation. And again, same thing is they started, hey, I've heard of this, but I never thought I would give it a try. Um, and so slowly but surely, I started sharing this with my colleagues at the different districts I worked at. And then I got my doctorate and I worked with professional learning communities for my doctorate. Started getting into research and I started seeing the research out there um, on the the rates of burnout, the level of stress that people in the service industry and certainly educators were going through. And this really kind of piqued my interest, um, particularly in the United States, because there's not a lot of research about the mental health and well-being of educators in the United States, particularly with leaders. A lot of this work comes out of Australia, um, Europe, and and I felt we had a huge opportunity. We're missing a huge opportunity to take care of the people who are taking care of our children. And so that's when I've been on this mission to share and spread this word anywhere I can. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity. It's kind of a long intro, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here. One of the things I'd like to do is the way I'd like to set this up is just to offer really to raise the level of concern, I think, for the importance of this work. Whenever I speak, I think we all take it for granted. I think we all assume that this work is very difficult and very challenging, but I don't know if everyone has an opportunity to see the statistics, to see the numbers, right? The rates of burnout. How many of educators want to leave the profession? And I think a lot of this has to do with the nature of our work, um, but also because we're not talking about it, and we're not talking about it enough. And so I see, we talk about Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. I mean, we've seen huge teacher shortages across the country, and it's something that we need to wrestle with and address. And I feel like meditate, and then I'm going to make the case why meditation is an effective mitigation of these issues. I think meditation can offer so much to the field of education. And so I'm going to do a little bit of my educator, administrator, professional learning right up front, and then invite everyone to join me in a practice, a simple breath awareness practice that we'll do for right in the chunk in the middle part of our time together. And then the most important part, which is my favorite part, is I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from your thoughts. Like to hear your experience, both with our practice and practitioners in general, or as educators. Or what, if you're not an educator, what you think about educators and education, and why you think it's so important that we bring this work to the field. So I really hope that you can stick around for the full time, for the full practice, and then certainly stick around for the end, so that we can share any questions or comments or concerns or anything like that at the end, and really have that feedback. So we good? Any questions before we begin? Any logistical questions? Any thoughts? Wait time. Wait time. Wait time. I'm terrible with wait time, but I passed my threshold. So yeah, okay. So we're gonna move forward, and I do see that I can share my screen, but I just want to just share my screen with you real quick and just share some facts. If you want this information, you can connect with me afterwards. I'd be happy to share this with you. Um, oh, looks like I can't share my screen. I don't know.
Let's see if it works now.
Okay, let's see if I can try it now. Maybe make me a co-host. Ah, there we go. Okay, perfect. So there won't be a lot. So Whitaker, a long time ago, back in 1999, basically set the tone and shared that school leadership, school administration, teacher leadership is demanding and fraught with fragmentation, variety, and brevity. And I think what's interesting about this quotation is that you see paradox, you see nuance even in this definition. Fragmentation and variety on one hand, but then brevity. The expectation of being succinct, of being clear. So we work in a very ambiguous, fragmented world in education, multiple students, multiple families, multiple perspectives, and yet we're expected to respond with succinctness and clarity. And that's really challenging. That's really tough to do. So in and of itself, the task is overwhelming. And so one of the things that we talk about is that it's not designed in the most productive, healthy, and sustainable way. And without getting too much into the structures and systems, it's undeniable that the work that we have is just not sustainable, at least in the U.S. And I'm interested in hearing later from some of our colleagues overseas. But school leader burnout essentially comes from unmitigated stress, right? There are times when our work is difficult and challenging. We understand that. But the challenge is that it's by being unmitigated means there's no interruption. It just becomes constant day after day, right? And Friedman told us in 2002 that a lot of this has to do with interaction with parents, overload of work duties. In 2018, 30% of principals left after 1 year, right? 50% by year 5, right? And that has a significant impact on the achievement of schools. So not only is this an important issue to address for our own health and well-being, but for the learning of our students. Educators are 2 times more likely than the general public to be victims of stress. And actually, I think what's even more important is that, hold on, I want to go one more. This piece right here is it's having an impact on our children, right? 2016, there was a study called the stress contagion. And what they did is they actually looked at teachers who self-reported their levels of stress, right? So self-identified levels of stress, which in and of itself can be a challenge, but in self-reporting their own levels of stress, and then they took, cotton swab samples of their students, and there was a direct correlation between teachers who reported high levels of stress and the higher levels of cortisol in their students, right? So even when we try hard or try our best to keep it in, we can't help but having that stress work with, or impact our students in the classroom. And this is information that came out since COVID. 25% of teachers are working more than 56 hours a week. And I think, when I look at that final bullet, that teachers are tied with ER nurses, the highest level of stress of any of the service job. It's at a point where we need to do something about it. Now, the idea of, and again, it's impacted our teacher pipeline. Nearly 1 in 4 teachers say that they're likely to leave their jobs by the end of 2020, 2021, right? That was coming right out of the pandemic. And that was a huge increase. I know we've got Pennsylvania has got a teacher crisis. I see someone here, 2/3. The teacher pipeline plummeted by 2/3 in the past decade. Okay. And I think this one right here is a huge one. That 1 in 2 school leaders say that their stress level is so high that they're considering a career change or retirement. So what are we to do? Right? What are we going to do? And I think what I've observed and what the research shows is that the current practice is not sustainable. It's not working. I don't know if we have any school leaders or teachers in the audience, but it's almost seen like a badge of honor if you don't get to lunch, right? It's almost, oh, I didn't get to my lunch today. And I worked in teams where it's like, oh, really? I didn't get to eat lunch at all. I'm not leaving work till 5 o'clock. Well, high five, teacher of the year, right? Administrator of the year. And it's just become so natural. It's become what we do. If you look at the people that we hold up as being exemplary models, exemplary teachers, exemplary educators, typically the characteristics of those individuals are the ones who are putting in intense amount of hours at great self-sacrifice. It's seen as part of the job, right? And it really doesn't have to, and it really shouldn't, right? And so one of the things that, Freudenberger, when he identified this term burnout, that I think is important, that I want to point out before we start our practice, okay, so just give me a few more minutes, is our work is tough. We all know that. A lot of jobs are difficult, but it's the prolonged chronic part of it that's unmitigated, right? There's no interruption. We're not learning how to deal with the stress as it arises, right? We're dealing with very challenging circumstances and many times, but there has to be a release. There has to be a way for us to stop and process and work on the challenges that come along. And so this is huge. So these two parts, it's chronic, it's unmitigated. And I think the biggest thing has huge implications in our work is the loss of empathy, the depersonalization, right? We all work ourselves to mental exhaustion and this perceived of hopelessness, but it's the part where we begin to lose the empathy that we have in others. And you can't teach if you can't put yourself in the shoes of your students or your families. You can't lead schools if you can't put yourself in the shoes of your teachers and the staff on campus, right? So that's such an important part of our work. And yet we're finding that when you're burnt out, that's one of the 3 major areas that we're losing. Most people think meditation is this. Most of my friends think meditation, I'm on a tropical beach with the sunset, sitting on a rock, right? In the state of bliss. But it's a misconception. And so that's what we're going to do today. Essentially what I'd like to offer up is this last piece right here, is that meditation. I want to offer this, and I don't know where our different levels of experience in the room. Typically, I work with educators who've never meditated before, who've maybe tried an app, but they don't quite know what it is. And this is what I tell them. I said, meditation is a foot in the door. As we go through our daily lives, we build up habits. We build up conditioned response to stimulus, right? We work hard, and then something happens, sets us off, and we react. What meditation does is through time is it allows us to put a foot in that door before the door slams and we react full force. The practice of meditation allows us to stop, observe what's happening outside of us, and observe what's happening inside of us, in our mind, in our heart. and just observe and watch so that we can respond with skill, so that we can respond with confidence and maybe find some insight before we react. And who knows, we might react exactly the same as we would have had we not stopped and taken a breath. But at least we will do so with a little bit more insight into why we do what we do. And so, and so that all comes from building up this practice of breath awareness. So I'm just going to ask before we begin, um, do like if you just give me a thumbs up, if you are an educator, maybe a little thumbs up icon. Any educators out there? CG, G. Okay. All right, Janice. Okay. I want to just pause right now. That was a kind of a long direct instruction. Are there any questions? Any questions or thoughts before we move forward? Okay. So what I'm going to invite you to do is we're gonna share in a what's just what I would consider to be a simple breath awareness meditation, and um, we're gonna spend I have a clock, so I'm aiming for about 20 minutes. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lead you through some instructions, um, and to just start to so that we start to sharpen and hone in our own awareness of where we're at, awareness of our surroundings, um, becoming aware of what's in our body, becoming aware of what's in our mind, and really start to just sit and be, listen and focus, right? Something we all want from our students every day. We can just get them to sit, listen, and focus. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to practice it. And just a couple of logistics for if we have any beginners. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you are seated on a pillow, if you're on a chair. I'm in my office, as you can tell, hopefully. One of my favorite things to do is to actually meditate in my place of work, right? I feel the goal with meditation is to begin to integrate these these thoughts, these ideas, this approach into all aspects of life, not seen as just not relegated to just a beach or a studio or an ashram or a temple, but in our everyday lives. Okay. Um, and and so that's what we're gonna do right here, right now. And towards the end, I'm gonna give us some time to just stop with the guided instructions, and we're just gonna sit. We're gonna sit and become aware of what arises in our mind, and then we'll process and talk about it afterwards. KGM offered a question that I think that's a great question, and I'll definitely answer it when we finish our practice. Okay, so what I'm going to invite you to do right now is to just settle in. Okay, and then just close your eyes. You don't need to close your eyes during your practice, but for this for where we're at right now, I'm just going to invite you to just settle into our surroundings. Just take note of where we are. Like I'm in my office, and with my office comes certain sounds, right? Might hear a vacuum, custodians cleaning up, or cars going by. We just want to check in with the sounds of our surrounding. Again, we're not trying to be anywhere else other than right where we're at right now. And before we begin, we want to set an intention of fully accepting all the different stimuli that occurs wherever we are at this moment. Not grasping for perfection or the perfect experience, but just accepting those sounds as coming right on time. And as we practice today, I'm going to invite you to Either open your eyes or close your eyes, whatever feels more comfortable to you. I know sometimes it's seems like it's harder to force our eyes closed. So if you want your eyes to open up, that's fine. But whether they're open or closed, I'm going to ask you to cast your gaze down about 6 feet in front of you. We're going to take our hands, just place our hands right on our lap, right on our knees. We're not doing anything special with our hands. If you're sitting in a chair, I'm going to invite you to place your feet on the ground so that they're firmly planted. Both feet are touching the ground. If we're sitting on the ground or on a pillow, whatever feels comfortable for you. And bring into awareness the connection between your feet and the ground. This is our source. Bring your awareness to your seat. Together with your feet, this is our anchor, grounding us down, keeping us safe, acting like a root. And if your seat and your feet are your root, then your back is the trunk of your tree, straight and strong. I'm going to invite you to unzip your belly, let your stomach relax. Now, within our practice this evening, there's no special breathing. So just breathe however feels natural. I'm going to invite you to take your shoulders and just bring them up to your ears if you can. Roll them backwards. One more time. Roll your shoulders up to your ears. Roll them back and stop just above your normal resting spot. Just so that your back is slightly elevated. Again, our trunk is strong, upright, not uptight. Almost like a lifeguard, observing, watching. Our seat is our root, and our back is our trunk. The branches of our tree are reaching outward and upward to the crown of our head. I invite you to tuck your chin just slightly, just to make sure that our gaze is cast down about 6 feet in front of us. Go and loosen the jaw. Make sure our teeth aren't clenched. Go ahead and bring your awareness to the skin on your cheeks as they relax on your face. Where you have tension. Your eyes are gently resting in their sockets. Your gaze is soft. We're not focusing on anything. Bring your attention to the skin on your forehead. Making sure that it's soft and relaxed. no longer clenching, no longer pondering. I invite you to bring your awareness to your nose, the tip of your nose. Notice how the air comes and goes. Notice how the cool, crisp air on the inhale awakens, and the slow, warm exhale helps relax. Just check in with yourself. If you feel a little groggy this evening, maybe you want to place more attention on the inhale, help awaken the mind. Or if you feel maybe you're a little uptight and agitated tonight, maybe you want to bring your awareness to the exhale, helping you sink and relax, letting go. Again, we're not trying to breathe in any particular way, just breathing in a manner that feels natural. Now, you might notice some thoughts arise. Maybe you start thinking about time. It's completely natural, completely normal. It's what our brain does. I'm just going to ask for the purpose of today for you to just give that thought a name. This is planning. This is scheduling. This is judging. And then on the next exhale, just let it go. It'll come back. It's fine. There's no grasping, no clinging, no resisting. We just breathe it in, give it a name, and let it go. And then return our awareness to our breath. Again, either that inhale as it awakens the mind, or the exhale, helping us sink into our posture. Some thoughts might stick around a little bit longer than others, and that's fine. Again, no clinging. It's just new information and no resisting. I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. Just give you some time to place that awareness on your breath. I got a clock. I'll make sure to get us out on time. I invite you to go ahead and tuck your chin a little bit. Take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to go ahead and come back to our space. Go and open your eyes if your eyes have been closed. And come back together. Um, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to engage in a little bit of conversation, a little bit of feedback. Uh, one of the things one of the questions I have for you is, what did you notice? What did you notice?
First, I'll say thank you for that. I feel extremely relaxed right now. um, Personally, I think what I noticed is that the gentle returning of the thoughts, like letting them come and go instead of um, while you're practicing, sometimes there can be that expectation of I'm going to be practicing mindfulness and it's just going to feel so good, but then thoughts come and you beat yourself up about them. But allowing it to be there and naming it and then letting it go is just so helpful. And it really normalizes the fact that we have thoughts all the time. It's just how we work as humans. And so that was just, it was really nice. And it also helps you to not fixate on the thought, because instead of fixating on the fact that you're having a thought, you're letting yourself have it and letting it go. And I just find that really helpful.
Yeah, no, thank you for offering that, because that that awareness is exactly why I feel teaching and meditation or mindfulness go so well together. Because
Mhm.
if we can learn to accept what arises as being natural and being normal and being part of the process, rather than it being something that's a problem with the thought or with the me, then I mean, and then it'll help us when our students come to us or our colleagues come to us, and and this we respond the same way, right? Like right on time. Like, this is what happens. Learning is a difficult process. You're going to see behaviors. I mean, learning is there's failure. Like, you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be stimulation that's going to be unwanted. When you're trying to do something else, there's going to be interruptions, and how we deal with it is so important. And so the way we work with our thoughts translates exactly to how we work with the children in our classroom and the colleagues that we work with. So thank you for lifting that up.
I love that. Thank you. It reminds me, and then I'll let the next person speak of, I like thinking about it as in the classroom, because you're going to have interruptions and your nervous system is going to get activated and there are going to be a lot of emotions. And it gives you this space to, instead of react, to respond. And I think that the difference between those is just very important and is a great teacher to the kids in the room too.
Great point.
Mhm.
What are the thoughts? I saw someone else go off muted. Someone unmuted themselves like they were going to speak. That's okay. One of the questions in here, KJM put in here was, um, as a principal, what interventions have you given to your teachers, knowing that their stress levels are high? Right. So what does it mean? What do you do? Great question. Um, I think I think one of the first things that I do is that I make sure that I'm present for them. Right. Like that that right there is in and of itself. Like, I need to make sure that I am present and aware, um, for them at all times. Right. And so, um, recognizing that they need the time and the space that they're asking for. If you look at the research on social emotional learning, if you look at the research on doing deep, strong equity work, right? One of the first things that they tell you need to do is you need to articulate that this is a priority. That's the first thing, right? Um, and that's what I do with our staff. Okay, your well-being is a priority. It's a priority to me, and it should be to you. So I think the first thing is you got to state it. I think we take that part for granted, and we start putting in all these meditation classes and all these offerings, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But it has to become a part of the mission, the vision, how we operate here, that we're going to take care of ourselves and we're going to take care of each other. Family first, always. And if we can't be here ready, prepared, then we can't be ready for our kids. So I think stating it, modeling it is an important thing. Then from that, right, the activities, the decisions, the initiatives you roll out will be more authentic and will come naturally. And they might mean different things for different people. It might mean a weekly meditation that we do. I've done that before, and it works at the time. But that came from that space, that offering, and it came naturally, and it was successful. And so I think I would offer up that rather than what do you do, it's how are you being, and so that's where we start. I see a hand, Frank.
Yeah, hey everybody. Just wanted to mention two things really quick. One, yeah, he definitely is present with his colleagues. Just want to confirm that. Number two, I've been meditating for quite a long time, and one thing I thought was really cool that I found really helpful is the distinction between the inhale, focusing on the inhale might get away some grogginess, and focusing on the exhale can maybe cool down the some anxiety. I thought that was really cool. I really like that. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Frank. I see you. I appreciate the shout out, my man. It's good to see you. And I think that's an important point, because um, we didn't really get too deep into it. And the different practices that we do. Um, Sometimes you go in a different direction, and but one of the things that's important is to see what is happening in the body, to see sensations in a different way, right? To think of a breath as being almost dualistic in a way, like the cool inhale and the warm exhale. Like, for some people that might be different, never seen it that way, but there's so much more complexity to it, that if we'd actually just take the time to become aware of it, right? Where it lands in the back of the throat, where it lands in your stomach, the depth, is it low, is it high? All those things are interesting. And if you take the time to do it, right? Um, Janice, see, Janice has a question.
Yeah, hi there. Sorry about my voice. I'm a little under the weather. But what I think really resonated with me is when I think you said this, is to name the thought. Did you say that?
I did, yeah. Give it a
Okay,
name.
I've been grappling with my thinking, overthinking, for a long time. But being able to watch it flow down the river and naming it, put it into a whole nother light for me.
Mm.
I don't know why. Maybe you could explain it, but it made it okay for some reason to have that thought. Okay, that thought was curiosity. Okay, I'll let that go for now. You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
very helpful.
Yeah, what it does is by naming it, it almost categorizes it. And so one of the elements of meditation mindfulness is, once you accept it, you take away its power, right? Ram Dass says this, he would say this a lot, where it was, if you're craving something or rejecting it, either way, it's got you, right? And And so much of our thoughts and our emotions get us and they hook us. But when you simply look at it and you say, oh yeah, that's planning. I'm planning right now. I do that all the time. Everyone plans. It takes away its power over us. Um, and I think that that is so important, almost like shines a light on it so that it doesn't take over. And I think thank you for sharing that. Um, well, I know we're at the end. Oh, that's our calendar alarm for our meetings. But I want to offer one more thought up to the team and to the group. This is something that I've been pondering for a long time, and and I want to share. Well, I'm not going to share a slide. I'll just tell you, we are in the business of learning, and often we use the word we're educating students, we're educating adults, educating ourselves. What does the word educate mean? To impart knowledge, to, in most senses, to give knowledge to others. But it's interesting. If you look it up, that's the definition. Educate is to impart knowledge. But if you actually look at the root of educate, it comes from the Latin word educare, like educare. So that's kind of a cool connection too. But educare, which actually means to bring forth, to elicit, to bring up, right? And again, this is just my kind of final thought about mindfulness and meditation and how it's got such a great connection with our work in education. Is we tend to think of educate as giving, imparting. I have the knowledge and I'm imparting it to you. But really where this word came from was the opposite, which is to bring forth in the learner, right? To bring forth, I need to know what's going on inside. I need to elicit your brilliance. I need to elicit everything that you come with in order for me to impart or to help you develop the knowledge that you need, right? We forget that as educators. And some of us are really good at it, checking for understanding, eliciting prior knowledge. But when you start to flip it that way and to see, like, before I can move forward, I need to see what we're working with, right? And when you start looking at meditation, that's exactly what meditation is. It's bringing forth what is inside, what's going on in here, right? What's there? Let me observe it. Just as I want to see what's going on in our students, I want to know what's going on inside of me. And if we can look at it like an observer, as a witness, we're able to make progress and gains. So again, just a little thing if you want to look into, let's remember that to bring forth, to elicit, rather than to impart and to give. So, I'm honored to be here. Thank you. I was a little bit nervous. This is a different venue than I'm used to. So it was an honor to be here, and I'd love to help in any way that I can. I don't know if there's any way to connect with me. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I wasn't sure the best way to communicate, or if you want to reach out. I'm here to help.
Thank you so much, Josh. You're more than welcome to put like your email or website in the chat, and we can also send out that information when we send out the recording for this to everyone who registered. So there's a lot of people that register for our events that are not in time zones that can come on live. So I'm sure that they would love to get your information as well. That was so helpful, and it just really made me think of how wonderful this would have been when I was a student, to have teachers and principals that like put this work in for themselves, because you're not really taught how to process emotions or how to be present, or at least when I was in school, that wasn't at the top of the list of what we were taught. And I know that that's still kind of a newer thing, and just that's going to make not just a change in the lives of teachers, but in students and even their parents, seeing that when their students come home. It's just like chain reaction that just keeps going and going.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I know. But like the fact that we had to sneak, we had to sneak into the yoga studio, tells you that we've come a long way. We've come a long way. I'll walk into classrooms now and it'll be mindfulness Mondays and teachers will be different mindfulness activities. And it's definitely something that's much more accepted than it used to be. And rightfully so.
Mhm.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, and you have some really nice comments coming in the chat as well.
All right. Perth. Perth, the exact, we're in San Diego, so we always hear there's one other place on earth that's exactly like San Diego in terms of climate, continentality, same location on a continent, and that's Perth. So I got to get to WA one of these days. But thank you, Tanya, for your comment, and Janice and Audra. Thank you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much to everyone, and we'll send out the recording soon, and hopefully we'll hear more from you, Josh, in the future.
Yes, thank you. It was quite an honor. I'd love to be back.
Thanks so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, morning, middle of the night, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you.